Estimating. Oh, holy crap. If you're a project manager and you have to, and you know, you're doing consulting, or the CEO says, I've got this product I need, and you have to say it's going to take this long and cost this much. How do we do that?
Well, I mean, you get the person who's going to do the work and have them give you an estimate. I mean, that's how you do anything with project management.
Yeah, but let's say you're the one that has to give the estimate.
Yep.
How do you estimate? What are your rules
Use
of
your
thumb?
experience and take a look at what wants to be accomplished and give a range.
Right, and I think that's the important thing. And I've
Give
seen
the short and the long estimate, and usually it's a little bit more than half of what people project.
Right. So I think there's a couple of important things there to keep in mind if you're doing estimating, either time or, well, I mean, really what you're estimating is time. How much it's going to cost is just a function of
from that.
Yeah. So always estimate in a range. Programming, especially if you're not just doing a quick bug fix, has so many unknowns in it that there's no way you're going to nail it to any degree of certainty other than a wide range. I may be able to get it within 50%. Like this may take me 2 to 4 days, but if I say this is going to take me 7 hours, I'm never going to hit that unless I just get extraordinarily lucky, and I might as well buy a lottery ticket if I'm going to get that lucky. So always do a range. Also, always build in a bit of fudge factor, because every time I've done an estimate, whether I'm telling the estimate as I think it's going to happen or building in my fudge factor, I always end up spending a little more time than what I really think it's going to be, because going to write a test and trying to test this thing is more complicated than I thought it would be. So I have to figure out a new way of testing something, or this is some technology that isn't working as advertised. So when I read it and researched it, it said, yeah, it'll do this. And then I go to implement it and it doesn't quite work that way. And I've got to work around some things, that's a bigger deal. You get in the middle of the project and find out that what you thought was going to work for an architecture doesn't actually work for this product. And so you have to re-architect some things. So there's always some fudge factor you need to build in. And really doing estimation is more of an experience thing than it is a science thing. It's just, you just have to kind of get a gut feel of, I kind of know how big a deal this project is and what kinds of things it's going to take. So I kind of know how long it'll be. Let me add some fudge factor and then give a range.
And there are arguments against adding fudge factors necessarily, but you don't want to. But some of the reason to do that is the adage, was it under promise, over deliver?
Right.
So you definitely want to tend to go that route than the other one.
Right.
But I think that definitely the other key thing to keep in mind is that the person who's doing the work needs to do the estimating. Like, I do not think that the project manager should project how long something's going to take. In other words, whatever task needs to be done, if it's by a designer, the designer should do the projection. If it's a programmer, a junior programmer, they should estimate how long it's going to take them to do this specific unit of work and give the project manager a range. Now, a responsibility the project manager does have is that as he's receiving estimates from different people on the team, he can gauge how well people are good, how well each person, how well that person can estimate their own work. And then if he's seen that they're consistently off in a certain way, he could, adjust from there.
Like this guy keeps giving me 2-hour project estimates that are 6 days long.
Exactly.
Something's off.
Exactly. Then he knows, okay, well then, yeah. Either then that's a communication thing, talking with, all right, hey, why do you keep telling me it's going to take, just 2 hours, and it always ends up taking 6 days?
Right.
So then you can push back. If you were the project manager of a project, you could push back and say, are you really sure it's going to take 2 hours? Because
because I'm getting ready to tell the CEO that it's going to take a couple hours.
Yeah, because so the big conversion projects that I ran, for a way ago now, when I was the project manager, we gathered everyone up in a room and wrote down exactly what needed to be done with all the subject matter experts. And it was each individual who was going to take on a particular duty that estimated how long it was going to take. And then we actually used a whiteboard, big, huge whiteboard, and every task was on a Post-it note. And then we put the Post-it note on that whiteboard. And then we developed dependencies between them.
Mm-hmm.
And then with that duration, you can actually project when the project's going to complete once you move all the Post-it notes around on the whiteboard.
Right.
So you can tell I'm used to using Microsoft Project in that way.
Like Gantt charts and things.
Project. Right, because you used a Gantt chart. So you could define dependencies between. Out of curiosity, have you ever used a tool? I haven't recently, that allows you to put dependencies between tasks?
Sure, Jira does.
Jira does? Okay.
Yeah. They don't, and I think Jira can actually produce Gantt charts, but I don't think anybody ever in web development, nobody looks at Gantt charts.
I've never seen
I mean, dependencies are sometimes important, but you try to steer away from that. If you're doing Scrum in a particular sprint, you don't want to have a lot of dependencies inside that sprint. We may know that, in order to get this thing done 4 sprints from now, we have to get this thing done this sprint. So there are dependencies, but I try to stay away from having a lot of interdependencies in a particular sprint because...
Well, but there are dependencies that exist whether you acknowledge them or not. It means, sure. Like, you can't have your first training class until the software is installed type thing.
Well, it depends on your sales department, but...
If you like this clip and want to watch another one, you can click right here. Or if you want to watch the full video, you can click here.